Welcome back to Man Down Sports. Let's go through all of these topics, man. A lot of stuff going in the NBA, a lot of stuff going down in the NBA. Playoffs about to start. We got I think the last game or the last weekend of the regular season this weekend. Got some games going on tomorrow. Some of them might mean some of them might not mean anything. So for the most part, the playoff picture might be set. The play-in picture might be set. So we can kind of get excited about that moving forward with the playoffs. But I did want to get into a lot of things that was like the big stories, especially starting with Luka Doncic, the Dallas Mavericks, and Mark Cuban, and this whole thing about them tanking so they can keep their draft pick, their top 10 protected draft pick. It's just a whole bunch of controversy with it. They might be under investigation by the NBA about sitting their players when they wasn't injured. I can't believe they blatantly did it that way. So that was kind of eerie and weird for me to even see. But we're gonna talk about all that stuff, man. And I kind of want to get into the Kyrie blame that a lot of people seem to try to throw out there. Like that's the easiest low hanging fruit to grab hold to. You see, before the trade, you get a team that's playing 500 basketball. Now, keep in mind, they might have been in the 4th or the 5th seed in the West before they made that trade for Kyrie Irving. But they knew that was going nowhere fast. They knew how much they missed Jalen Brunson, and they knew they needed to get some star help for Luka Doncic. If you listen to all the talk radio, the national radio stations, and ESPN tastemakers, and some of the local news in Dallas, they all were saying the same thing. Because the problems with Dallas that kept coming up is, man, Luka is just doing too much on offense. Like he's the guy who starts and ends the play on offense, and he's the guy who has the ball for most of the time on offense, and he's the guy that dictates everybody on the court when and where they get their shots from. And that's just too much power for one guy, especially if that one guy also is the guy who is responsible for scoring half of your points. Right. So a lot of people would bring that up and say, look, man, the issue is not the type of help that Luka has. It's the point that you can't help him if he's doing everything. And the pushback that Luka fans and Luka supporters and some of the Dallas fans would give you is the only reason why he is that ball dominant is because he don't have another ball handler that can help him. And I'm like, all right, I don't think that's it, but we'll see. Because when he had Brunson, couldn't do much, and which is part of the reason why he left, man. Not him coming out of his mouth, but his agent came out and said, we believe Bronson is capable of way more in a more free offense, not what they're doing in Dallas with Luka. They said, I feel like Bronson is capable of it. And I thought that from the beginning as well. And now you can see the proof is in the pudding. He is capable of doing way more than just standing in the corner waiting on Luka to pass him the ball and waiting on his turn to go ISO when Luka don't have it. Right. So with all that being said, Kyrie is not to blame. Kyrie has been a model citizen ever since he joined. He had nothing off the court, nothing on the court, nothing in the locker room. All these things that all these people were saying about him. Mark Cuban has been on the record saying that everything he read about Kyrie Irving has been false. All right. And they want to re-sign him this summer. He said that's going to be their number one goal. So if Kyrie Irving has been a model citizen, if Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks GM and Jason Kidd all want him back, if all the players rave about him, plus Luka don't have anything negative to say about him, what's the problem with him being re-signed, and why do people still think it's a bad idea? And that's obvious. We know the answer to that. But why do they still want to blame Kyrie Irving for the downfall instead of actually looking deeper into it and figuring out what the real issue is? And the farthest they go past Kyrie is Jason Kidd. They go straight to Jason Kidd and say he's a problem. Well, I'm going to tell you what the problem is, because I've been telling y'all what the problem is with Dallas and Luka for a long time. The problem is, number one, you can't win with their play style. And this was famously quoted by Kobe Bryant when they asked him about all the points that James Harden was scoring in Houston years back. And Kobe said it was great, but you can't win like that. And Kobe knows that, because Kobe had to kind of go through that after Shaq left and after Phil left. Phil and Kobe wasn't such on good terms when Phil left. And then Kobe had those 2 or 3 years with Smush Parker and Luke Walton and Ronnie Turioff trying to figure out how to win. And he was kind of doing a little bit of what James Harden was doing, a little different though, a lot different. It wasn't so much ISO ball and dribble, pull back three. It wasn't so much of that, but it was still him hogging the ball, taking a lot of shots, being a high volume scorer, high volume shooter. He still played defense though, but whatever he was doing wasn't working. But he was averaging over 30 points a game, and he knew it wasn't gonna work. And then they brought Phil back in, and him and Phil was able to bear the hatchet. And he went back into that triangle willingly because he knew that triangle was working. It worked for a three-peat with Shaq, so he went back in that triangle willingly, got him a number 2 with Pau Gasol, and the rest is history, right? So Kobe Bryant knows that that style doesn't work, and he said so much. And if anybody's watching and paying attention to anything in the NBA history-wise or just recent history, that just doesn't make sense for one guy to do that much for 82 games plus playoffs, playing the best teams in the playoff in a setting where the rules are changed to make it a little bit harder for you to even do that, and you try to win like that. I always wonder why James Harden seemed to take a step back in the playoffs. Is because you just can't play that style in the playoffs against the best teams for 7-game series when they can lock in on you and game plan on you for 7 straight games. It's not like I'm flying into Houston. I'm playing Houston on the back end of a back-to-back, and we didn't even have a practice. No, we're getting a week to prepare for you, play you in game 1, and between each game, we're getting at least a day or 2 to rest, practice, look at film, and come right back in and do it again, right? So a one-man show that's the guy who is setting everybody up for their shots, plus getting his own shots by himself, that's not going to go through first round, second round, conference finals, and win. Like, it doesn't even make sense to even think you're going to do that. And all the attempts to do it, Harden couldn't do it, no matter what number 2 he brought in. He tried it with Dwight Howard, didn't work. He tried it with CP3 and Carmelo Anthony, didn't work. He tried it with Westbrook, didn't work. And then they tried to get rid of all the superstar help and let him do it by himself again. And they had to bench Clint Capella and trade him, and then try to bring PJ Tucker in and make him play center. They tried to get smaller so they can keep running this James Harden system, and it just didn't work, right? It didn't work. What up, V? It didn't work. And Westbrook tried it as well in OKC. Luka is trying it now. Jokic is kind of doing it, just a little bit different. And LeBron tried it. And the thing about LeBron is he tried to get it to work in Cleveland. Didn't work. He left to go to Miami and formed a super team. So it appears that LeBron did kind of make it work because he did continue to kind of play like that. But the room for error was a little bit bigger because he had such great help. He had superstar talent. He had Wade and Bosh and Ray Allen, for that matter, right? And good coaching and all that good stuff, right? So either you're going to suffer the same fate as Westbrook, Harden, and Jokic has so far with this Luka thing in Dallas. Either you're going to suffer the same consequences they suffered, or you're going to have to form a super team like LeBron if you want it to work. Because normally, under normal circumstances, this doesn't work and you can't win like that. So why is it the problem? One, Luka is a 6'8", probably about 230, 240 pound, slow, unathletic point guard. Or, in my opinion, he's a small forward that is playing point guard. And if you look at all the other guys like Luka and his skill set and his size and his athleticism and his abilities, if you look at from the 90s all the way to early 2000s, guys coming in the league like that, they automatically go into small forward. This is a new thing since LeBron James, where we feel like whoever our best player is, we're going to let him initiate the offense and pretty much run the point, right? LeBron James never was the point guard for his team, but he handled the ball as much as a point guard did. And the play initiated and started with him, right? He only played point guard on paper for real, for real. That one time in LA, was it 2020, right? But yeah, this is a new thing for you to say, all right, my best player is my point guard. I'm going to you for points and you're running my offense. Usually that's a role that's split between two guys. Usually if Michael Jordan was your best scorer, then we'll have somebody else facilitate the offense. If Kareem was your best scorer, you'll have Magic Johnson facilitate the offense. If Malone was your best scorer, you have Stockton facilitate the offense. I mean, and the list goes on and on and on. If Sean Kemp was your best scorer, you had Gary Payton initiate the offense. I mean, if Tim Duncan is your best scorer, Avery Johnson wasn't an all-star. He was not an all-star, right? But he was a point guard. I have Avery Johnson initiate my offense. If Alonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson was my best scorer, Muggsy Bogues initiate the offense. Shaq, my best scorer, Penny initiate the offense. It don't matter how good of a scorer you are or how good of a scorer you aren't. It don't matter how good of a passer you are or how not good of a passer you are. If you're a pure point guard, we're going to give you the ball and let you facilitate the offense because your mindset is centered around getting your teammates involved and getting your teammates easy baskets. And then when to get out of your own way and let your star player take over. Now what they're doing is they're saying, I want my best player to occupy both of those roles, right? And what that does is it takes one job away from someone who's supposed to be helping him. You got one guy doing two of the major jobs on offense, and now no one can help him because I don't have any roles that I can fill, right? And that's the problem with that. Anytime you see a player who's averaging close to a triple-double, that shows that is a red flag, and it shows that he's probably doing too much on offense and probably doing not enough on defense. And every single time that's the case. If you look at Luka, he's averaging almost 10 rebounds. And how does he get his rebounds? Well, the guy who is the scoring threat on offense is never being guarded by Luka because Luka can't play defense. So Luka is always going to guard the guy who's the least of a scoring threat, who's just standing off of it in the corner, letting the play develop. And what does that do? You're sitting back playing a free safety almost, and you see these long 3-point shots go up. You're able to run those rebounds down more than someone who's actually locking up the guy who's going to be taking the shots and run off the screens and in the post and stuff like that, because you're dedicated to sticking to your man, putting a hand in his face, boxing out. The guy that's freelancing, he's got more opportunity for that rebound. So that happened in Harden's case, that happened in Luka's case, that happened in Westbrook's case. All three of them has been known for not playing any defense, right? All three of them been known for not playing defense, but they're doing too much on offense, right? So that's how they get their double-digit rebounds, by playing free safety and not guarding the best man. How they get their double-digit assists is because they're the point guard. It don't matter who you are in this league. If you play point guard and you got shooters around you, and we're putting up hundreds of shots a game, if I'm putting up 100 shots a game, let's say we put up 100 shots a game and we make half of them, we shoot 50%, right? That's 50 makes. Out of 50 makes, the guy who always has the ball and who's always making the plays, out of 50 makes, he should have at least 10 assists. Like, just imagine it. 100 shots a game. We putting up that many shots. We putting up shots at a record pace, right? Just shots on top of shots on top of shots. And the way Dallas offense operates, only one guy is really designed to get an assist, which is Luka. So out of all those makes, if we're shooting around 50%, out of all those makes, I'm getting 10 assists, right? And then, of course, the points take care of itself because, my bad, I'm trying to get this charge in here. But if the points is going to take care of itself, if you're the best player, you're getting the shots too. So you always going to be somewhere near triple double. The real question is that winning basketball? The real trade is that winning basketball? And I see somebody in the comments that say before the Kyrie trade, that was in the 4th seed. Yeah, they was in the 4th seed, but they were at 500. They wasn't playing good basketball. That's why they made the trade. They made the trade because they knew that wasn't going anywhere with the way they was playing and the way they was operating. They was barely winning. They was playing 500 basketball, right? And by that time, Luka hasn't. We wasn't even midway through the season, so Luka didn't get to the point where that wear and tear was causing him to start to miss games. Remember, Luka went down before the trade came. So imagine what they would have been with those. What Luka missed probably like 6, 7, 8 games. Right when Kyrie showed up, and they was 4-1 or something like that when he showed up, and then when Luka came back, they started losing again. You get what I'm saying? So imagine how far they would have fell if they didn't make the trade, and Luka had that 8-game stretch where he missed, and they didn't have Kyrie on the roster, and it was just Dinwiddie and Dodo trying to hold it down for him. They would have been in the same situation. They knew what they was doing. They knew they needed Kyrie. They knew they needed to do something, right? But the team chemistry was broken up, and it was almost like they were starting over again. So it reminds me of when Cam Newton joined the Hornets in the middle. The Panthers in the middle of the season, right? Everybody expected, oh man, we got Cam now, we're gonna start winning. It don't work like that. You get what I'm saying? So that's a very hard transition they was trying to move to, and just adding Kyrie and getting rid of all that defense you had, Dinwiddie and Dodo. It just wasn't gonna turn into success overnight. All right, my bad. So they go into tank mode, right? Which was confusing to me because they could have made the playoffs. And what was really going on is they have a lottery pick tied to the Porzingis trade. So when they traded Dennis Smith Jr. and a first round top 10 protected draft pick to the Knicks for Porzingis, and that pick was for this season, for this year. If they made the playoffs, and they're going to lessen their chance and lessen their odds to land a top 10 lottery pick in that case, right? So the opportunity, all right, so there was a greater chance if they made the playoffs that they wouldn't have got a top 10 pick, which means if it's outside the top 10, if it was number 11, then New York gets the pick. They would have lost their first round pick for this summer. So in an attempt to try to keep that pick and greater their chances to get that pick in the top 10, they tank and they pulled Luka and Kyrie out of the game for against the Bulls, and they lost by 3 points, and then they got one more game against San Antonio, and I'm quite sure that they won't play, but it don't matter anyway because they're out of the playoffs, right? So they graded their chances of getting in their top 10 pick, right? And I don't know if the lottery talent is that great that it even matters if they get that pick. And I don't even know if you grab a rookie, if he's going to be able to come in and help Luka and Kyrie win right now, right? So maybe they want to use their number 1 pick to help package another player to bring in another vet. That's what I would do. I don't know if I would want a rookie. You already got a 23-year-old almost superstar and Luka, and you have a superstar in Kyrie. Work with that. Get another vet to bring him in, another all-star level type player, and then you off and running if you can change that offense and take Luka off the point guard and get a real point guard, right? So it's a couple of things Dallas can do. And this is what I would do. Number 1, right away, Luka is not the point guard anymore. I'm not going to let my my go-to scorer, my number one primary scorer. I'm not going to let him run the point. But I don't want Kyrie exclusively to run the point either, because he's such a great scorer, right? But I don't want to bring in a point guard smaller than Kyrie, and then we have the issue of Luka not being a great wing defender at the small forward, so he's going to be dog food every night. Kyrie Irving being a small point guard can guard other point guards his size very well. But the issue with him and guys like Steph Curry is they screen so much, and they screen to get a mismatch where you ended up having Kyrie Irving or somebody like Steph trying to guard a Jason Tatum or a Jaylen Brown, right? Once they get screened off, and that spells trouble, right? So you don't want another point guard that's Kyrie size or smaller, because now you're going to have 3 non-defenders on the wing, and that's just going to be disastrous for them, right? So what I would do, number one, take Luka off the point, and I would bring in another point guard, but I will make sure that point guard is a big body, agile, and good defender, or great defender, right? And not necessarily a scorer, because I'm going to be getting my points from Luka and Kyrie, right? I want this point guard to be able to score, but more importantly, I want him to be able to defend and hit open threes, right? So you have to think about what point guard that might be. And I want him to be, he don't have to be young. He could be a vet, but not necessarily be a vet. Like, I just seen Utah beat Denver, which we'll talk about in a minute. And they just signed what's up, SB? They just signed Chris Dunn. And Chris Dunn had 14 assists a game tonight. He had 19 points, 14 assists, 8 rebounds. He's a 6'4", 6'5" point guard. I always liked him. He got drafted by Minnesota. Dude can defend. Dude can get in the paint and score. And now he's hitting the open jump shot with consistency. If Utah keeps him, that's great. But maybe he might be the type of guy that might fit well. He's not small. He's a big point guard. He can run the point, and he don't need shots all the time, right? Maybe Lonnie Walker from LA, if they drop him. A point guard like that. That's what I'm thinking, right? So if he could run the point, and then every now and then Kyrie can run it as well when he goes to the bench, that's what I would be looking for. But I don't want Luka on the point no more. I'm telling Luka from now on, I want you to concentrate on giving your man 30 every night, right? Which shouldn't be hard because he's already doing that. But now I want you to go in the off season and figure out how you're going to get this 30 points without having the ball, right? So I want you to watch other non-athletic, highly skilled small forwards that is about your size, 6'7", 6'8". I want you to watch Paul Pierce play without the ball, because he played with Rajon Rondo being a point guard that's going to have the ball, and he was setting people up. But Paul Pierce, every now and then when it's time to go one-on-one, especially when Rondo went to the bench, they'll let Paul Pierce bring the ball up or initiate the offense, right? So you gotta be able to master the game to where you're picking your spots to do X, Y, Z. You just can't come down and say, look, I'm going to do what I want to do every play, and the other 4 guys, y'all just got to figure out how to exist around me, right? That's not a good formula. Luka's going to learn how to play off the ball. That means you're going to get the ball a lot in the post, right? And you're going to run off some screens every now and then. And you got to be able to knock down, catch and shoot threes. If someone like Kyrie gets double, you're going to have to learn how to play off people like they learn how to play off you, right? So that's the first thing I'm doing. Take Luka off the ball, get a big body point guard that can play defense, and I would like that. Kyrie, a point guard like Chris Dunn, and Luka. Those are my wings. That way, if you're doing that and you don't have Luka running the point, running that offense where you have 5 man out, standing at the 3-point line, now you can have a rim protector help him out on defense. The difference between Luka Doncic and someone like Steph Curry, who they always consider not a good defender, is that Steph Curry doesn't need to play in an offense where a big man has to stand at the three-point line. So you can play Andrew Bogut or Kevon Looney or Jonathan Wiseman or even Boogie Cousins, like it's all types of centers who've played with Steph that can be in the paint and they can help rebound and do all that stuff. But with Luka, JaVale McGee couldn't even get on the floor because in Luka's offense, you can't have a big man out there that can't spread the floor and shoot the three. So that canceled JaVale McGee out. If you notice, when Kyrie showed up and Luka was hurt, JaVale McGee started getting minutes, and he started getting meaningful minutes, and he started playing real good basketball with Kyrie. You just can't do that with Luka because he needs 5 men on the perimeter, right? So you get rid of that whole need for that if you take him off the ball and make him play his true position, which is small forward. Just because he has point guard skills doesn't mean he has to be your point guard. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I would do. I would try to keep JaVale McGee. I need that rim protector, and I try to keep Woods. I just add a piece. I add a point guard, and I add some more defenders, like Dodo or whoever else they had before. So that's what they do with that. You definitely can't blame Kyrie for what happened with Dallas for sure. But that's just my take on what they need to do moving forward. But there's another thing that happened this weekend, right? So the MVP race just keeps getting more interesting because even after Embiid had his 52-point game and Doc Rivers came in the interview and said it's over. Like, I mean, why are we even talking about it anymore? The MVP is Embiid. And then he turned around the next game and lost to who was it they lost to? I can't even remember. Somebody they shouldn't have lost to. They lose to them. And everybody was like, oh man, he just can't win for losing. But Jokic was sitting games out and I don't know why they were sitting games out. And here they come in, they play Utah today. And Utah beat them. Utah was up on them by 19 points. But here's the interesting thing. Mr. Nikola Jokic, who everyone claims doesn't care about the MVP race, doesn't care about his stats, doesn't care about triple doubles. I mean, he puts on a good front in the interview when you ask him about triple doubles and all that stuff, and he says, "I don't care. I just want to win." Like you saying all the good things. Like, this is the stuff you're supposed to say. We know you're supposed to say this. No one's going to go out there on the podium and say, "Yeah, I want this triple double." Nobody in their right mind is going to do that. Right. So anybody who's trying to tell me that this man don't care about a triple double just because he said he don't, think again. So you got a game. It's the game before the last game of the season, before you go in the playoffs. Everyone knows that you want your team clicking and firing on all cylinders going into the playoffs. You want to go into the playoffs on a good high, right? You don't want to limp into the playoffs injured. You don't want to go in there not playing your best basketball. So a win, they might not need it. They still gonna be a number 1 seed, but you want this win. If you're gonna play all my starters, at least let's go out here and win this ball game against freaking Utah, who's not in the playoffs. They go out there, they get down 19 early, and I just happened to look at the stat sheet and notice that the best player on the team, while they're losing and down 19 points, only took 5 shots the entire game. He only took 5 shots the entire game. Let me double check to see if he even, because it was like still like maybe a minute left when I looked at it. Let's see if he took more than 5 shots. No, he was 2 for 5, 6 points. Imagine that. Imagine an MVP candidate who's supposed that everybody says the best post player in the league, the best center in the league, an MVP candidate for this year. He already won 2 straight MVPs the last 2 seasons and was on his way to a third one before people started really looking into his stat pattern, right? And I always told people he's stat padding. Everybody was like, nah, he don't like taking shots. I'm like, no, it's not. You can stat pad more than just points, right? Like I said, he's going to get his points because he's the go-to scorer. He's the primary scorer. He's going to get 10 points a game. That's easy. The rebounds, he's 7 foot. The rebounds go fall in his hand. He's down there. He can get 10 rebounds a game. But it's the assists that he needs to pad. It was different for Westbrook. Westbrook needed to pad the rebounds. But playing point guard and playing the primary scorer role for your team already pencils you in for at least 10 plus points or 10 plus assists when you play the point guard and the primary scorer. What Russ had to do was pad his rebounds. Same with Luka. Luka is going to get the points and the assists because he's the point guard and the primary scorer. But what he needs to do is rove on defense, not guard anybody so he can track down rebounds. That's what Russ was doing. He was tracking down the rebounds. He was padding the rebounds. So when you say stat padding, people automatically start thinking about shots. And it's not like that. And for Jokic, the rebounds are natural, the points are natural. But what's not natural, what's not organic is his assists. He has to hunt down assists. He has to pass up shots for passes in hopes of getting an assist. So the interesting thing about this game, well, you got 2 games left and he's averaging 9.8 rebounds. 9.8 assists a game. Do you think he know how many assists he need this game and next game to try to get the average of 10 so he can average a triple-double, which would make history, right? Only person who's ever averaged a triple-double was Oscar, did it once. Westbrook did it 4 times. Jokic would be on the only 3rd player in NBA history to ever average a triple-double. He was kind of close last year when he had about 8 assists he was averaging the game, maybe 7.5 or something like that. So now he's taking less shots this year so he can get more assists. He wants that triple-double. He, in a game that wasn't a must-win for his team, but as far as, was it virtually a must-win? Yeah, because you want to be playing your best basketball going into the playoffs. You don't want to put anything mental in your head like we in a funk or anything like that. But he went out in a game that was down by 19 points. You would think that your best player and the person that you go to for points would be like, oh, we're down 19. I'm about to go in. Right? That was Jordan time and Kobe time. Like, yeah, it was almost a deal they had with Phil Jackson. Now, I run that triangle offense, but if we start losing, it ain't working, or these dudes ain't doing what they supposed to do, I'm going into MJ mode. I'm going into Kobe mode. I'm going to go get these points. Right? That's what you want your best player to do. But in the game they really needed. Now imagine this happening in the playoffs, a game they really needed. And they really look into their number 1 scorer and their number 1 player, the guy who's the 2-time MVP, who's getting all the money and all the accolades and all the praises. Hey, dig us out of this hole. And instead of going to go get more points and more shots, he's chasing down assists. He got 10 assists. But he probably needed about 15 to bring that average back up. The average is at 9.9 now. Right? So whether he plays next game or not, he probably need another game with 12, 13 assists next game if he really want to get that average. But he might hit, it's the last game of the season. You don't want nobody to get hurt. Mike Malone might not even play his starters next game. But if they do play Jokic and they play him for 4 quarters, I'm telling you, that is a telltale sign that they after that triple-double. They want that history. They want that record. They want to be the 3rd person to ever do it, the first center to ever do it. They want it. I'm telling you, there's no way your best player is supposed to take 5 shots in a game that you're down by 19. And then the only thing you can do to help your team is say, let me get more passes out there. It was obvious. It was obvious this man was after that triple-double. Very obvious. But y'all can cap for him all you want to and protect him and say he don't care about it and all that stuff, man. That his actions say otherwise. And that's for sure, his actions say otherwise. Another interesting thing that happened, and I'm not gonna get into all of it. I just want to get into the part that Draymond Green spoke about. He spoke about more of it, but this soundbite that I'm gonna play for you was something he said interesting in regards to the threshold that they got now, which is 65 games. That's gonna take effect next season. That you must play to be considered for any major award. So MVP, six man of the year, rookie of the year, first team, second team, third team, defensive player of the year, all the awards. You gotta to be eligible for them, you have to play at least 65 games. And I don't know where they got this 65 game threshold from. I mean, it really makes no sense. I don't know where they got it from, because just let me play what Draymond Green said first, and then I'll come back.
65 minimum games for awards. I can appreciate this, and everyone will appreciate this until you got bums on the All-NBA team and winning awards because someone didn't qualify because they missed 10 games at some point of the season with an ankle injury. All of a sudden, you don't have any of those guys on All-NBA teams, and then what NBA are we representing? When you look back in history and you got a bum on the All-NBA second team or All-NBA first team because guys miss some games, it won't be so appreciated then, and everybody will be complaining now. And you know who else will be complaining? I think owners are going to end up complaining when they find a bum that they have to give an extension to that made the All-NBA team, and now they come in there asking you for max and super max and blah, blah, blah because they made the NBA team because guys weren't allowed that played 63 games. Then we'll get to complaining. Because you're going to have a guy making $200 million that produces at an $80 million level because they made the All-NBA team. Why? Because Steph Curry missed some games. He got injured once, then got injured again, and missed significant amount of games in both of those injuries this year and doesn't qualify for all first team All-NBA or second team or third team, and y'all paying them bum salaries. There's always another side to it.
Yeah, and he's not far off, man. He's on point with what he's saying. All right, so 65 game threshold for you to be eligible for any major awards, which is going to be very funny when the chips started to fall, because you're going to realize the superstars that we all like. I mean, because this rule that they came up with probably was it was probably motivated by players like Kawhi Leonard, who load manages, and if he is rehabbing an injury, he's not going to force himself out there. He's not going to play back-to-backs. He's been doing that for the last 4 or 5 years. And then it was a trend that most players started to catch on to, and they started to do, especially for players like Anthony Davis is injury prone. But not everybody's doing it, right? But so many people is complaining about it because it'll be a matchup where you think you're going to see Kevin Durant face LeBron, and then you find out one of those players are getting load management because it's on the back end of a back-to-back, and now people feel like they're cheated, right? So they come up with this. This is one of those reactions that's kind of too far of a reach to try to correct something, and it's going to have more repercussions. They're going to have to end up changing this pretty soon. It probably won't even make it to the next CBA. They might make a some type of amendment or something like that. Because the way Draymond Green is describing this, because we know people contracts are dependent on some of these things. Like Ja Morant, if he makes All Pro, he has a bonus, and if he don't make All Pro, he won't get that bonus. And I think, reportedly that number is around 40 million. Making first team All NBA is in people's contracts. Making All Stars in people's contracts. Winning MVP is in some people's contracts, right? So this is going to affect people. Then when you have a player like Steph Curry that didn't play 65 games, who hasn't played 65 games in the last 4 years, and in the last 6 years he's only done it once, right? Let me read off Steph Curry's games. This year he only played 55. right? So he's 10 games off of 65 with a game or two left, right? Last year he played 64. The year before that he played 63. The year before that, of course, he got injured 5 games into the season, so he only played 5. And then the year before that he played 69, and the year before that he only played 51. So 51, 69, 5, 63, 64, 55. All of those years moving forward, if that happens again, he won't be eligible for all NBA or MVP or any of those things, right? He won't be eligible for any of that. So what's going to happen is what Draymond Green is describing is once the real person who deserves, and the crazy thing is, he had two years where he played 64 and 63 games. So he's 2 games off. So imagine him being 2 games off, not being able to be eligible for first, second, or third team all NBA. And now you got to figure out which player who really isn't that deserving, who's going to get put in that situation. And now when it comes to max contract dollars, making first team all NBA pushes your max up, right? So you're going to be eligible for more of a max contract based on your status. If you're an all NBA player, you're an all-star, did you make first team? So you're going to end up with players at the point guard position or whatever position that's going to make it over Steph in this hypothetical, coming to the table saying, I'm worth this amount of money and you must pay me or I'm walking. Right. So that's what's going to be happening from this, right? Someone like Kevin Durant, he got injured this year, missed some games. I think he only played 55, so about the same as Steph this year. He wouldn't be eligible for first, second, or third team All NBA. Kawhi wouldn't be eligible. It's just the list goes on. There's so many guys that didn't play 65 games. I don't even think Giannis played 65 games this year. So moving forward, all these dudes aren't going to be eligible, and they're not going to be like, all right, man, let me play hurt so I can get this game under my belt. They're not going to force themselves to go out there and play if they think they're going to endanger themselves or risk themselves with more injury. So they're not going to fix the situation. I think they just made it worse, right? I think they just made it worse. Let me give you another scenario. Let's look at the MVP candidates this year, right? Giannis has played 63 games this year. So he would have to play. He'd definitely have to play the last 2 games to be eligible, and he's an MVP candidate, right? He can't rest that last game, which was what players usually do before the playoffs, especially when you secured the number 1 seed already. You're not fighting for a playoff spot. You want to rest your starters that last game. You would have to play Giannis in order for him to be in a discussion for MVP. I don't think Milwaukee would say, man, let's play Giannis just so we can be eligible for MVP and risk him getting hurt before the playoffs. I don't think he's going to do that. Yeah, so it's so many problems that comes with that, man. And if you look down the list of the players who haven't played 65 games, the list is long. The list is long. Even the year before last, when Giannis was an MVP candidate, he only played 61. These dudes don't be playing 65 plus games like that. So I don't know where they got that number 65 from. I mean, I have no clue where they got that number 65 from, man. But I don't know. If they like it, I love it, man. But Draymond was on point. He hit the spot. And speaking of awards, I want to end it with this. And I just want to go over the first team, second team, third team. Because obviously we're not going by that 65 game threshold this year because they don't go into effect to next year. And then another change they made with the awards is they wanted to make it positionless. So we no longer picking it by point guard, shooting guard, small forward. They just picking 5 guys. That's what they're going to be doing moving forward. So you can have a first team with 2 centers on it, or you can have a first team with all 5 guards, which it's going to look very weird if they do that. I don't know if I can get used to that, man. But I mean, maybe the people who vote might still be thinking along the lines of position. They might, maybe this is something they could loosely consider to kind of deviate from if they need be. I think that should have been explained that way. Instead of saying positionless, I think they could have said, give special consideration to, to certain positions like center, who has 2 guys who deserve to be first team, like Embiid and Jokic, almost every year. You're almost having to pick between them, which is fine. I don't think, they have to, squeeze them into first team. Just pick one, and it's the nature of the beast. Like every rule that you make, is always going to be some exception to it, or something that actually is not perfect about it, and you just got to deal with it. It's always some error in every rule that we got. But if it's minimal or minor, okay, just deal with it. Okay, so the worst thing that how we was doing it is somebody like Embiid have to end up being second team because Jokic was first team, or vice versa. I think we should deal with that instead of just changing it to positionless, because one day we're going to end up with 5 guards on the first team, and that's an eyesore. But I do want to go through who I think is deserving, not based on who's going to be the popularity pick, because I don't know what they're considering when they come up with this stuff, man. I'm gonna go through the Ringers picks, and this is just as recent as 3 days ago. So they're all NBA first team. They got Luka on there, and for me, that's a no-no, because for me, I'm not considering anybody for first team or MVP or anything like that when your team isn't winning. And here we got a guy who is not even in the playoffs, and you're going to reward him with first team. The most important thing about the NBA and basketball and sports in general is winning. So first and foremost, I'm going to all the winning teams to find my first team all NBA. So it would not be Luka for me, right? For me, it would be De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox at point guard would be my number 1 pick for first team. He plays. So my criteria for everything is team success, of course, outstanding performance, but outstanding performance on both ends of the floor, offense and defense. So if you're one-sided, that's not going to completely disqualify you if you have the other thing, which is the team success. So like in Jokic case, he's a 50% player. He plays one side of the ball. He plays offense exceptionally well, not so much defense, but his team is successful. So the formula is working. So the only knock that I can give Jokic, if someone at his position happens to have team success as well, but also is playing both ends of the floor. And in a Jokic case, he does have someone at his position that's doing it, and that's Joel Embiid. So Jokic would be knocked out of first team for me as well, and so would Luka, because Luka don't have the team success, or he's not playing the defensive end of the ball. Just all stats, all offense. All right, so it's a no for me for Luka. De'Aaron Fox, I plug him in there. I wouldn't go Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because the team success for De'Aaron Fox is more than OKC. So I wouldn't have Shai there. He got Shai here at the 2, which is fine. He got 2 guards, but I'm gonna go with Donovan Mitchell at the 2. So my point guard would be De'Aaron Fox, first team. My shooting guard would be Donovan Mitchell, and then my small forward would be Jason Tatum. Power forward would be Giannis, and my center would be Joel Embiid. Right. The Ringer had Luka, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, Giannis, and Nikola Jokic. I don't even know how you even put Jokic over Embiid. I have no clue. And then second team, the Ringer got Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid. I wouldn't go that route. Damian Lillard is for the same reason I'm not going with Luka. I'm not going with Dame as much as I like Dame. I think Dame is the third best point guard in the league. Steph, Kyrie, Dame, right? Or if you got Dame second, I don't mind that. Steph, Dame, Kyrie. Or if you got Dame first, I don't mind that either. It's those three though, right? But unfortunately, you don't see Ja Morant's name there. It looked like politics took him out, but he missed some games too. So I don't know. I don't know if anybody's going to vote for Ja Morant just based off the politics. But they got Damian Lillard here out of the playoffs. Really? I don't think he deserves it, right? So I'm putting Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on my second team at point. I'm putting Donovan Mitchell, even though he missed 6 weeks for that hamstring. Whatever work he did helped his team be a number 4 seed. So I got to give Booker some love on that one. So I'm going with Shai at the point, Booker at the 2. I like Jaylen Brown at the 3, even though, no, I'm sorry. Let me backtrack. Because, oh man, so I got another thing that I kind of observe. I think a number 1's job is harder than a number 2's job. So when I'm rewarding people or awarding people, I tend to grab the number 1's to reward them. And here it is, Jaylen Brown being the number 2. I think he deserved consideration, but second team might not be it. I might have him on the third team. So Shai at the point, Booker at the 2. I think I'm going with Kevin Durant at the 3. And this is tough. I would go AD at the 4 and Jokic at the 5. I would have to. I might have to look back into it on that AD because I probably could put Brown at the 3 and Durant at the 4 with Jokic. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna reward the number 2 seed Boston Celtics, and plus, especially Jaylen Brown played a lot of number 1 because Tatum missed games as well, and sometimes they're interchangeable. Sometimes Jaylen Brown operated as the number 1 while Tatum took a back seat. So I feel comfortable with, okay, let's go there. Let's go Jaylen Brown at the 3, Durant at the 4, Nikola Jokic at the 5. And then for third team, the ringer has De'Aaron Fox, Steph Curry, Larry Markin, and Julius Randle, Domantas Sabonis. I'm going to go with Jalen Brunson at the point guard. I keep Steph at the 2. Let's see. Make sure I ain't missing somebody. Man, it's gonna be tough for LeBron and AD. I'm trying to see if I can fit them. LeBron and AD. Then you got Jimmy Butler. I think I'm going to go Jalen Brunson at the 1, Steph at the 2. Man, this is a tough one. Larry Marketing is a good pick, but Jimmy Butler could be there. I like what Larry Marketing did. I'm going with Larry Marketing at the 3 as well. I agree with that. Julius Randle at the 4 and Sabonis at the 5. I'm going to go Sabonis at the 4 and AD at the 5. I'm going to let AD get. It's got to be somebody. It's either got to be LeBron or AD. I got to pick one. I mean, LA had a successful season despite starting 2-10. They had a successful season. They made the playoffs. They're in the play-in, number 7 seed, right? I gotta get one of them love. So it's either gonna be LeBron at the 3 over Marketing. So it could be LeBron at the 3, Marketing. No, I would have to take Julius Randle at the 4, and Sabonis at the 5, or Marketing Randle AD, or Randle Sabonis AD. I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna take Larry Marketing out. I'm gonna go Randle at the 3, Sabonis at the 4, and AD at the 5. Obviously, rookie of the year is going to be Paulo Banchero. I don't think it's no competition. Coach of the year, it's no competition. It's hands down Mike Brown with Sacramento for what he's done. Um, Six man, I'm gonna have to do that on another video after I do a little bit more research on that. Six man is gonna be tough. And even defensive player of the year is gonna be tough, man, because you got Jaren Jackson Jr. Nick Claxton was a candidate before the Kyrie and Kevin Durant trade, but I think his role changed a little bit, and I mean it's a lot changed in Brooklyn. So I think Claxton has his buzz has died down, right, a little bit. So I think he kind of lost some of that weight. Brook Lopez is still averaging about 2 blocks a game, so they got him highly ranked in the race as well. So Jaren Jackson Jr., Brook Lopez, maybe Nick Claxton. I don't know if there's any wing defenders that's considered this season. Maybe Mikal Bridges, but that's about it. So that that's the 6-man defensive player of the year. That clutch player thing, I don't even know how they even looking at that. So I can't really make a judgment call on that either. But yeah, that's my awards, man. That's at least my and then first, second, and third, first, second, our defense. Might have to do that another video as well, man. But that's how I see it for first, second, and third team all NBA. Unfortunately, these players that's out of the playoffs like Dame Lillard and Luka. I mean, I just don't even understand how y'all would get votes for that. I just can't consider you. If politics is going to take Ja Morant out because he had some accusations against it, if you're going to take Ja Morant out of the running for all NBA team, there's no way you're going to put Luke in there missing the playoffs with a losing record, or Dame Lillard in there with a losing record. Come on, man. It's just not about just putting points up on a bad team. If that was the case, Ricky Davis would have some all NBA. Ricky Davis was balling for Charlotte. That was trash. So, I don't know. That's how I see it, man. Let me know what y'all think about it, man, in the comments, man. I'll see y'all on the next episode. Peace.